Hi everybody, it's Lisa here from Holistic Health by Lisa Moan for my Monday night Facebook Live. It's raining here in Bulli, which is wonderful, so if you're in Australia, I hope it's raining with you too. If you're in Ireland, then I hope it's not raining because you get enough rain. But that's really good news for us because there's been so little rain and the fires have been terrible, so it's a big relief to see a good dump of rain. So tonight I'm going to be talking about bone health and how you can really improve your kids' bone health and reduce the risk of getting fractures, and also how to help them heal if they do have a fracture, to make sure that they don't have lifelong issues because of that break. This Thursday at my clinic in Bulli, I'm hosting a workshop about nutritional interventions for autism. So if you live in the Illawarra area and you have a child on the spectrum, or you know somebody who does, and you'd like to find out how nutrition and supplements can help with autism, then please have a look on my Facebook page and find the event for that and grab yourself a ticket. So it's going to be a very informative evening with lots of information for parents who want to get started on that journey. And next week in our Facebook Live, we'll be talking about sleep and how you can use food and nutrients and nutrition to really help your child get to sleep. There's lots of sleep hygiene and lots of behavioural issues to address, but there is food can have a big impact as well. So back to bone health. So who is at risk of getting fractures? Because some kids are going to be a lot more at risk than others. And children who have taken reflux medication are going to have a higher risk of fractures. And studies have shown that. And that's because when you take a reflux medication, you suppress your stomach acid. That's what they're designed to do. And if you don't have enough stomach acid, you actually can't get the nutrients from your food that you're eating. Therefore, you can be low in all the nutrients that you need for healthy bones. So if you want to learn more about reflux medication, just skim back a few weeks through my Facebook Lives and you'll find a lot more detail on that. But certainly children who take reflux medication for more than a 6-week period have a higher likelihood of having fractures. Children who take warfarin, and that's obviously a very small subset of children, but because my own daughter has congenital heart disease, I'm well aware that there's a significant amount of children out there with congenital heart disease who have heart valves, like replacement heart valves, who actually have to take warfarin for the rest of their life. And that has an impact on their bone health, again, because of the way it affects your nutrients. Children who are picky eaters will not be consuming the broad range of foods that you need for healthy bones, and they will end up with nutrient deficiencies. So another reason why not just to wait for your child to grow out of their fussy eating, but address it, because you're actually weakening their bones as they eat a very restricted number of foods. Then there's other medical reasons like bone abnormalities, children with cystic fibrosis, children with other health issues that will have weaker bones as a result of that. And of course, the trampoline park is the biggest risk factor there is. Or having a trampoline without barriers on it, or even worse, having a trampoline with barriers but with it not zipped up. So those are also massive risk factors for fractures. So what foods should your child be eating if they are at risk of having a fracture, or if they've already had a fracture? And if you've been paying attention for the last 30 years, you might think that they just need a good few glasses of milk every day and everything will be fine. But it's so much more complicated than that. And what children actually need is a really broad range of whole foods, minimal processed foods, and that's how they get all the different nutrients that they need to for bone health. And it's not just about calcium, and it's not just about dairy. So calcium is good for your bones, but calcium has to work alongside other nutrients to help bones. It doesn't work on its own. And the other nutrients that you need are magnesium, vitamin K, silica, boron, vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. So that's a wide range of nutrients, and you don't get all of that in dairy. You just get the calcium from dairy. And dairy is a good source of calcium, but it doesn't have all those other things. And if you have too much calcium in your diet because you're having 4 serves of dairy a day, for instance, that will actually deplete your magnesium levels, and you need magnesium for bone health. So whereas the calcium might be helping your bones, it's deteriorating the amount of magnesium you have, which is then worsening your bones. So if you are going to choose to eat dairy, because your children don't have any issues with dairy and it's just a food that you want to include in your diet, it's fine to have 1 serve of dairy a day, and that's the optimal amount of dairy for reducing your risk of fractures. But you want to have it fermented, so not just drinking milk as it is. You want to have yogurt or kefir or cheese, and that's going to make it a lot more tolerable and a lot more digestible for your child. So by all means, have some dairy, but only have 1 serve a day. Don't go for 3 serves a day. And there are lots of other foods that have calcium. So green leafy vegetables, and you might think, well, you know, my child's not going to eat green leafy vegetables, but you can always find unique and different ways that your child is going to eat green leafy vegetables. So nobody knows your child like you, and nobody is going to be able to come up with ideas to get green leafy vegetables into them except for you. So it's time to get creative, find your child's currency, find out what motivates them, and use that as a tool to start to get them to eat green leafy vegetables. And when kids are little, they can taste quite bitter, the leafy vegetables, but you just have to persist and they'll get used to that flavour and it won't taste bitter anymore. So green smoothies are great. I have a recipe on my website that lots of kids love, and if you serve it in like an old-fashioned milkshake cup, they can't see that it's green. And the smoothie I have there, it's got pineapple and mango in it, so if you can't see it that it's green, you actually don't know that there's spinach in there. So that's a good one. Frittata, because you can just chop up everything really, really fine, throw it in with some eggs, and you can put your cheese in there as well. That's another great way. And kale chips, so just massage the olive oil into the kale, throw it in the oven for a while with some salt, maybe some nutritional yeast to give it a bit more flavour, and there you go. Kids can just eat those straight off the pan. They're crunchy, they're yum. Other ways are tinned salmon. So tinned salmon is actually a pretty healthy food. So it's a great one to have in the cupboard for those days where you get home from work and you don't have any other food in the house. And it's got the little bones in it, so those little soft bones, they're edible. You just mash them up and you can make those into fish cakes. You can put them on a sandwich if you eat sandwiches. There's lots of ways. Then almonds are good, chia seeds are good, and fermented soy. So if you are avoiding meat for some reason, you could have something like tempeh, which is fermented soy, which will have calcium in it too. Foods to get your magnesium are again your almonds. So almonds are covering a few different bases. They've got the calcium, they've got the magnesium, cashews, cocoa. So you can make a smoothie again with kefir and cacao nibs. It gives a lovely crunchy taste, and throw in a banana as well. And again, leafy greens have got a lot of magnesium. It's always better to buy organic when you're trying to get nutrients, specific nutrients like that from your food, because organic vegetables will have much higher levels of nutrients because they're grown in a more sustainable fashion and the soil is more nourishing to the plants. Then we want our vitamin K, which is again your green leafy vegetables. Boron, who knew that boron was a nutrient you needed for bone health? And you get that again from nuts and fruit and dried fruit like prunes, so that's really good. Silica, also really good for your hair and really, really good for your skin. So if you're prone to acne or your hair breaking or anything like that, silica is good for you too. And you can get that from root vegetables is the best way. So your carrots, your parsnips, all those sorts of vegetables are very high in silica. You need vitamin C for your bones because you need vitamin C to make collagen. So again, good for your skin. And that's, you know, your fruits like citrus, strawberries, and then vegetables like capsicum. Vitamin D, if you want to get that from food, cod liver oil, it's brilliant. Egg yolk, butter, and liver. So try and incorporate some of those real nutrient dense foods into your diet. And then zinc. You need the zinc to rebuild bones once they've been broken. So beef is great, or pumpkin seeds, or if you're game, throw in some oysters. Other things that you can do is make bone broth, because obviously when you make bone broth, you're actually leaching those nutrients out of the bone, and those are the nutrients that you need to make bones. So you can drink some bone broth. Give your kids bone broth. If they don't drink it straight, you could throw in some ginger. You could make a soup with it. Lots of different ways. You make jellies with it, so add some gelatin, make it into little jellies with some fruit. And then you ultimately need to make sure that your gut is absorbing all these wonderful nutrients. So you need to make sure your child's eating lots of prebiotic foods. So the onions, the garlic, and just vegetables in general are good for that. Now, the things that are bad for bone health. So these are the foods that you really want to avoid if you know that your child has weak bones because they've already broken a couple of bones, or because you've done tests and you know that they don't have very strong bones. So sugar has to go. Salt actually is bad. Too much animal protein. So I'm a big fan of animal protein, but if you have too much of it and it's not in balance with vegetables, so if you're eating just meat and grains, for instance, without all those leafy green vegetables, then all that animal protein would have a poor impact on your bones. And then soft drinks, they're terrible. They completely leach all the minerals out of your bones. So no soft drinks. No child needs soft drinks. It's not a restrictive diet to take your child off soft drinks. They don't need them. And for grown-ups, means no coffee, no tea, no alcohol, things like that, if you're prone to breaking some bones. But of course, although I've mentioned that trampolines can break bones, I can't emphasize enough the importance of exercise for your kids' health. And whilst swimming is a wonderful exercise for your cardiovascular system, for flexibility, strength, lots of things, it's not much good for your bones because you're not weight bearing. So you need exercise that have impact. So, gymnastics, athletics, sports, anything like that where you're actually bearing weight. And don't forget the sun. The sun is our best source of vitamin D, and our tummies and our bottoms are the best place to convert the sun's energy into vitamin D. So get your kids out there for 10 minutes a day without a top on, and that will really help build up their vitamin D stores. And just in case you didn't know, smoking is very bad. So don't ever let your child be around somebody who smokes. If it's their parent, their grandparent, they need to quit, or they need to stay away from your child, unfortunately, because smoking is really, really bad for your bones as well as being bad for everything else. So that's all about food and bones and what you can do to really make sure your child doesn't end up with lots of broken bones. And what you do when you're a child really determines your bone health when you're old. So sometimes I have people come to see me who are in their 70s and they've got osteoporosis. And I'm saying, yeah, we can, give you a few supplements that are going to help, but you need to talk to your grandchildren and make sure that they're doing everything right when they're kids, because that's when you actually lay the foundation of strong bones. So with your children now, it's crucial that they eat the right foods and they get the right exercise to get their maximum bone density when they're teenagers. So any questions about bones, just pop them below or write them quickly now. And next week we're going to be talking about sleep. So again, we'll be talking about foods that can really have a negative impact on your child's sleep, and then foods that can actually, some of them contain melatonin or tryptophan and can have a really positive impact on your child's sleep. And on Thursday in Bulli at my clinic, so it's a real life workshop, I'm doing a workshop on nutritional interventions for autism. So if you're in the Wollongong area and you have a child on the spectrum, or you know someone who does, please let them know about that. It's going to be all about dietary interventions for autism, testing that you can do to make sure that you're doing the right interventions, and then supplements that can be helpful for certain people with autism. So if that's of interest, please let me know if you want more details, or just go to the events tab on my Facebook page. So that's everything for tonight. Again, just let me know if there's any topics you would like me to cover and I will add them to the list. Otherwise, I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.